Hey everybody, it's Glenn, back in this video as my reviews of the Marvel Legends Space Venom Build-A-Figure wave roll on with Hobgoblin, who is combined with, as we see on one side of the packaging, Electro under the banner of evil adversaries. And here is Hobgoblin's side packaging art, pumpkin bomb in hand, no doubt ready to fling it at Spidey. And on the packaging back we see the evil adversaries alongside each other, and they share a brief bio which reads, "Powered up and bent on revenge, these menacing villains are powerful opponents." Which really doesn't say a lot, so it's just as well you have me to babble on about these characters. Then the packaging back pictures the Space Venom Build-A-Figure of this wave. My reviews of this wave will culminate with a look at him, and then the action figures you will need to collect to build him are Peter Parker, Miles Morales, Electro, Silk, Spider-Bitch and Hobgoblin, as we have here. So here is Hobgoblin out of packaging. And first, let me address Tom Hughes' question. In the early 1970s, after killing Gwen Stacy, the Green Goblin died in battle with Spider-Man. The Goblin being heralded as Spider-Man's greatest foe shows just how long a shadow his villainy casts, as Norman Osborn, the original Green Goblin, remained dead for some 20 years, but in that time, pressure existed for the villain to return, and while Marvel eventually caved into that pressure, they first created the Hobgoblin as an entirely new, yet similarly themed Goblin villain to be an heir to the Green Goblin's legacy. The character having discovered the original Green Goblin's secret lair and putting his tech to use. And with that, Hobgoblin himself became a classic addition to Spidey's Rogues Gallery. And here we get a classic interpretation following the much more modern one released as the Build-A-Figure a few Spider-Man Legends waves back. I should point out that these two are in fact two different characters using the same Hobgoblin alias. Now, I wasn't the biggest proponent of the Hobgoblin BAF, you can watch my review of it to hear just why. Then, while not officially part of Marvel Legends, Toy Biz did release a classic Hobgoblin in Marvel Legends style in their Spider-Man Classics line, which was in sorts a sister line to Legends. That was like 10 years ago now, which is long enough, and Hobgoblin a significant enough character to be worthy of a new rendition. But the Toy Biz one is a figure I've always been a fan of, so I've been keen to compare the two, and side by side each have their pros and cons. A pro with Hasbro's is it has its joints much more naturalistically incorporated into the sculpt compared to Toy Biz's letting it more hang out, those ball joint hips for instance. Inevitably though, that pro presents a con in that invariably better integrated joints means less range of articulation, which we'll get to later. With Hasbro's, it's nice to see these newly sculpted arms and legs with all the sculpted detail of the chainmail scaled lining. Now that Hasbro have coughed up for those, I think it comes as no surprise a Green Goblin is rumoured for the next Spidey Legends wave, no doubt reusing those parts. Plus Sunfire is rumoured for the next X-Men wave, and his costume is often rendered with scaled limbs, so I have a hunch the budget for the new sculpt here might be spread across him too. With Hobgoblin, I'm fairly certain those new limbs have been attached to the torso we saw with Doctor Strange from the Hulkbuster BAF wave. Where I side with the earlier Toy Biz version is the cape and the head sculpt. I prefer the more dramatic flare of the cape over the shoulders, and while I wish the tone of the Toy Biz's one's face was more distinct from the costume as with Hasbro's lighter toned one, yet the older sculpt is more superior to my eye. Now the Hobgoblin with these head sculpts is representing him wearing a Halloween sort of style latex mask, giving it some leeway to not be exact, but on Hasbro's one eye is noticeably higher than the other one. That's something that Arobus has noticed in other YouTubers' reviews, so it's certainly not an isolated incident, and it's not just misdeco, as actually it's there in the sculpt. But to its credit, it comes with a second interchangeable head, which comes with a story of its own. During the Inferno crossover event, which saw New York invaded by demons from Limbo, Hobgoblin sold his soul for power, his essence as a result becoming fused with a demon. And so his one-time mask was made demonic flesh. He must have missed that part in the fine print of the contract. Now let this be a lesson to you kids that selling your soul for power never goes well. He would later expel his demon demon half, creating the Demo Goblin, a darker mystical version of the Hobgoblin persona. The sculpt embodies that demonic fusion with its pointed teeth and protruding tongue. Hasbro with their Spider-Man Origins line have previously redecorated an existing Hobgoblin as Demo Goblin, so I wouldn't be surprised if down the line we see that again with this one. For an accessory, he comes with a pumpkin bomb, I think the same one that came with the Hobgoblin BAF and the recent Jack-o'-lantern. It's moulded in translucent plastic, and if you look closely you can make out the sculpted detail of a Jack-o'-lantern smile. Now it just sits loose in the hand, so I advise caution as it could easily be dropped and ultimately lost to a vacuum cleaner. But posed as if he's to launch the bomb, I try to wedge the flaming part between his fingers to secure it a little more. Additionally, he comes with his Goblin Glider, no deco on it, but the plastic does have a bit of a metallic sheen. His feet hook in either side, and he does have a hole in his back which an old style Toy Biz flight stand fits into, yet that leaves his cape extended far out behind him. I guess you could say that it's flailing in the wind. Now I couldn't dig out the glider that came with the Toy Biz version, but if memory serves it was in proportion larger than this one, and I think Hasbro's would have benefited from being bigger. Now looking at articulation, his head does rotate side to side, but then with the way his cape is jammed in between his shoulder and head, it does affect the up and down hinging of the head. Then at the shoulder his arm rotates and then it hinges up this far. Is that all? I don't really want to force it, but yeah, it seems so. Then at the shoulder his arms rotate and he does have a double jointed elbow, although the range of motion is inhibited a bit by his glove there, which no, it doesn't rotate at the top of the glove. Instead it rotates at the wrist and the hand is hinged, moving down and up. His belt there is a separate vinyl piece which you can use to hide the rotation waist cut, and then he has an ab crunch which moves this far forwards and then it moves this far back. Then at the hips his legs move out to the side this much and they move pretty far forward and then they move this far back. There's upper leg rotation followed by a double jointed knee, then there's rotation at the top of the boot and his feet are hinged moving backwards and forwards, and he has that crazy ankle rocker pivot that I love. And taking advantage of that ankle rocker pivot, this is him stood at his widest stance possible, still with both feet flat on the floor. And as we look at our other two Hobgoblins, this is where we're referring to the Toy Biz one's less concealed, uglier joints, but actually being more practical with a wider stance struck. All things considered, and it's a shame to see a figure come so close to nailing it, but not quite. Sure, you get two head sculpts, but in my opinion neither live up to Toy Biz's. And in case you're wondering, my good friend Craig Warwick showed off on Instagram, yeah, go give him a follow, a head swap of the Toy Biz head onto the Hasbro body. But be warned, that's not as simple as a straight swap and will require some effort in the modification. Then I never mentioned the deco, which is mixed in that a paint wash has been applied to his hood and cape, yet not to the body, leaving it brighter and flatter, creating a disparity between the two. But perfection is a lot to expect, and while I may linger on the cons, the pros do outweigh them here, making this Hobgoblin certainly worthy of picking up. Anyway, click this video for my previous one featuring Silk. I may just have declared her as the best looking of all Lady Legends. Was I right? Go look for yourself. And stay tuned as next time taking the lady out of Lady Legends is Spider Bitch. Please give this video a demon-infused thumbs up. And I hope to see you all next time. Bye.